Buongiorno. In front of me are 5 tiramisu from leading British supermarkets, and as a professional Italian tutor, I'm going to be tasting them and seeing how they compare to an authentic Italian recipe. I'm going to be judging them on 5 key metrics, and being an Italian channel, I'll of course teach you some phrases along the way, such as how to order tiramisu in a restaurant and the names of the different ingredients in Italian. Let's get started. Oh, that is a not nice aftertaste. That is nasty. Oh. No, that is nasty. I can't eat that. Ugh. Okay, let's start out with our Tesco tiramisu. So, just looking at this visually, okay, you know, the package is a little bit crumpled up. I mean, the layers are a bit smushy. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on. The expiry date is all the way in 3rd of January. I mean, at the moment it's the 5th, I think, or the 6th of December. So a little bit concerned about the expiry date, but it looks okay. We have the description is coffee sauce soaked sponge with creamy mascarpone and marsala wine. So yeah, pretty much what it says on the tin. I'm surprised they mentioned the marsala wine. That's obviously a very unique thing. Italians do put marsala in, but you don't typically find that. Marsala is just an Italian cooking wine. But yeah, let's just dive in and see how this one tastes. So I'm just gonna delicately rip this open with my bare hands. Okay, suitable for freezing. Doesn't give me great confidence. Okay, looking at the package, it looks okay. You know, again, as I say, the layers are a little bit mushed together, but let's give it a go. All right, so let's see. What are we judging this on? So overall flavor, right? Well, let's dive in. So you can just have a look at the visuals there. Yeah, let's just dive in. Keynote, when you're tasting tiramisu, a big mistake that people make is they just take a tiny spoonful from the top. You want to make sure that you get a whole spoonful going all the way down the tiramisu to make sure that you get the biscuits as well as all the cream. Good tip for you there. Right. Well, it's definitely a dessert. It's sweet, the cocoa is a little bit too bitter. You can't really taste the nice soft crunch of the biscuits. There's a little bit of a bad aftertaste. I mean, I don't really know what you expect at this kind of price point from Tesco. It's okay. It definitely has a little bit of the cream. Overall flavor, this one was actually not very nice. I'm gonna give this a 2. If we're thinking about creaminess, well, let's just have a little bit more. And the cream is okay. I think the biscuit or sponge that they've used hasn't either fully soaked in or is just not particularly nice. Let's just be honest. So the creaminess is kind of broken up. You know, you get a little bit of soft cream and then it's broken up by just this weird foamy sponge. It's not a very pleasant texture. If we think about the cocoa, it's okay. You know, it's clearly been mass produced. They've, you know, put some nice decoration or whatever that's quite crumpled up into bits. The other thing is it's just kind of sticking to the surface, which is all kind of just blended into one big mush. So there's not a huge amount of just pure cocoa coming at the beginning. If we think about biscuit sogginess as well, and it's not perfect. Again, I don't know if you can see. I'll try and hold that up fairly close to the camera. But yeah, the biscuits have just been a little bit intermingled with the cream, and it's not perfectly mixed. I don't feel like they've been soaked for long enough. But whatever they've done, you know, it's been a good attempt. If we think about authenticity, I think they've done an okay job. You know, the design on the top is okay, I guess. You know, they have put marsala wine in there, which I'm impressed with. You know, the recipe that I have for this from Giallo Zafferano is basically where all Italians get their recipes from. The recipe that I have for that doesn't even include the marsala, so it's maybe a bit more of a regional thing, but it's a nice touch that they've included that. So authenticity, you know, I don't think I can score them a 1. I think I'd probably say maybe between 2 and 3. You know, I guess if we're being really kind, let's say 3, but the biscuits definitely let it down, as does the cream. So we'll find out the overall score, but that's our first one. Moving swiftly on, we have our Asda tiramisu here. So again, packet looks quite nice. Let's have a look at the description. Full flavored coffee classic dusted with cocoa. Okay, so no mention of marsala wine or anything here. If we're thinking about flavorings, Italians sometimes might also use things like brandy or maybe amaretto. Again, these kind of things change from region to region. Okay, so this one used by date is 27th of December, nearly a week less than the Tesco one, which I think is a bit better. Maybe it's a little bit fresher. Again, let's just open it up. Okay, so contains alcohol. So interesting, this one actually does say on the packet contains alcohol. So I wonder if we have a look at the ingredients. It does actually have Marsala wine, 1%. I mean, that is, yeah, I mean, contains alcohol, fine. 1% is really, we just had to put it on the label. Let's have a look at the Tesco one, also 1%. Okay, they've got some different kind of, you know, decoration on the cocoa here. Again, just mass produced. If we hold the two up side by side, you know, this one is the Asda one. It looks a little bit more creamy. There's more white splodges. I think that gives me a bit of confidence. Apart from that, can't see a whole lot of difference. Let's just dive in. Okay, again, taking a nice big spoonful. So here again, there's not particularly big distinction between biscuit and cream. There's just a bunch of soggy brown stuff at the bottom. So I'm not selling it particularly well, but again, this is at the lower end of the price point in the mass-produced British supermarket. So let's have a look. Okay, better than I expected. This one's a little bit more creamy. Still doesn't have a very nice aftertaste. I think that's because I don't know how long these have been sitting on the shelf, but I think all of the, you know, alcohol has just been punched down to the bottom here, and you just kind of get that as a big hit at the end, which isn't particularly pleasant. Okay, overall flavour, this one I'd say is a 3. Okay, the flavour's actually fine. If you were serving this just to some friends, oh, you know, I can't even tell. Let me have a look in the mirror. I can't even tell if I've got you know, chocolate all over my lips. We think about creaminess. The creaminess is definitely better. In fact, I want to have a bit more. The creaminess is definitely better in the top half of this tiramisu. There is just this brown stuff that's just accumulated at the bottom, which is kind of its own little layer, which is not particularly nice. In fact, let's just scoop a little bit of that brown stuff on its own. Yeah, it's really not pleasant. But I must say, the kind of blend of the, you know, biscuit and the cream in this one is much better. It's much better, actually. So everything feels really nice, bubbly, airy. You can definitely feel that that's been, you know, whisked to oblivion. Obviously, it's been done in a factory. This one is actually a really nice cream. When we think about the cocoa, it's okay. Again, the decoration, whatever they've done, is just fine. It just kind of sits on top. With the cocoa here, because it's been sitting in the packet for, you know, we don't know how long, it's just kind of formed into one, you know, layer, whatever. And, you know, of course you will get that if the tiramisu has been in the fridge for a couple of days, whatever. But if it's fresh, you know, especially if you're just dusting it with cocoa like 10 minutes before serving, it will be a little bit more fluid and it will taste a bit better. So this one is okay, okay? Biscuit sogginess has been okay. Again, there's not a particularly clear stratum to me of the different layers. You know, tiramisu should be like a lasagna, a sweet lasagna. There is, you know, this, as I say, this brown goop at the bottom and this cream. There's not, you know, much separation between that. Or sorry, rather, there's too much separation between that. There should be, you know, just layers of this thing going up. Now, yeah, creaminess itself, the cream is okay. I think there's just a big layer of cream sitting on some layer of biscuit, and it should be interwoven. In fact, I'm just going to check the other ones, how they see what the sneak preview we've got going on. We'll see. I think because they're all just in these packets, they are all just going to be a little bit mushed together. But really, you know, to have a nice tiramisu, you should have that biscuit layer, the cream layer, biscuit layer, cream layer. Again, I will say, these pots, they're not particularly tall. You know, these ones are obviously, I mean, to be fair, they're not that much taller. If you're making this in a dish at home, you know, you want to make sure that you have a nice deep dish where you can really layer it properly. Usually I manage to do 2 layers of biscuits, maybe 3, and 2 or 3 layers of cream as well, mixed all together. Now, when I say cream, I do not mean double cream. If any people are confused about this, tiramisu does not have double cream. You can call it something else, call it a trifle, call it a cake, call it whatever you want. It is not a tiramisu. So there we go. Authenticity. Okay, the creaminess is definitely better, as I've kept saying. You know, the mixing of the layers is not very good. The cocoa is fine. You know, as I say, it's been mass produced, but it's just okay. So, you know, for authenticity, I think let's just give that like a I don't know, I'll give that a 3. No, yeah, we'll leave it as a 3. Let's keep going. Okay, next up, we're moving on to Sainsbury's. Now, Sainsbury's is a little bit more mainstream. I think they might be on the same par as Tesco. This one is also slightly larger as well, so hopefully it might be high quality. We don't know. Let's just dive in. Okay, so visually, of course, this is a larger tiramisu, so they have produced it into different splotches. It looks okay. I think a little bit more effort has gone into the decoration here. They've got these little like peaks. Again, holding that up, I don't know if you can see that. I've got these little peaks that they've whipped up. The cocoa looks a little bit more loose, which I like to see. It looks a little bit more rough and ready rather than just the previous two were a lot more uniformly just plastered on the top. So this one looks nice. Again, just visually, there seem to be even larger patches of cream, which I like, and there is still a disappointing just brown blob at the bottom. So let's dive in. Okay. Wow. That is much better. That is much better. Not perfect. I have no idea what these more expensive ones are going to be like, but this is much better. So, overall flavor. Again, the flavor of these previous two isn't necessarily the problem. The sugar content is great, and they're both nice and sweet. It's more the texture, I think, that really fails, that lets these two down. So, if you are, having a dinner party, out of all these three so far, I definitely recommend this one. The overall flavor here, let me just have another spoonful, wow. I mean, honestly, the flavor itself is on par. I'll probably give this a 3 or 4. Let's be generous, I'll give this a 4. Okay, I'm being very generous in my examination today. But this is pretty good flavor. Again, the thing that helps this one out is the texture. This is much more creamy, much more blended. There's a really nice airy feeling. You can pass this around your tongue, and your tongue will get all the different flavors that you're experiencing in one go rather than just one overpowering flavor. So this one, I don't know how to describe it. The flavors really kind of alternated between cream and cocoa and just the brown sludge at the bottom. Versus this one, they're all really kind of blending together. I'm not sure if they've used a different wine. This one says topped with wine cream. These other ones just say wine. In fact, let me just check the ingredients one more time. It does definitely say wine. It doesn't say wine cream. But this one's good. So, although this one has a higher ABV at 1.5%, it's actually really good. It just blends together. It's a little bit sweeter, and it's just not so overpowering. As I say, all the elements in this one seem to blend together better than these two, where the elements you kind of process them one by one. So overall flavor, I'm going to give this one a 4. Okay, creaminess, honestly, I'll give this a 4 as well. I want to give it a 5 based on what I've tasted, but I still haven't tasted these more expensive ones here. So I want to see what this one is going to be like, okay? The cocoa, again, I'm not getting a massively overpowering amount of cocoa. When I'm tasting this, it's so stuck to the tiramisu itself because it's just been sitting in the packet for so long. But honestly, in all of these three, I can't really honestly say that I can taste the cocoa. I'm not really paying attention to it. I'm more just overwhelmed by the creaminess, and that's the flavor that's in my mouth. This one, again, the marsala wine just really does blend in there and fold into the experience nicely. You can kind of see there's mostly just cocoa and then some cream and then the biscuit at the bottom. You can see they're totally soggy, and they're totally falling apart and disintegrated. A tiramisu biscuit should have a little bit of a crunch, not like it shouldn't be hard and brittle, but it should just have a bit of firmness that you can actually bite it. This is just complete mush. Again, because they've soaked it, it's obviously at the bottom of the packet, so again, there's just all the juices are flowing down to there, and who knows how else they've made this. So, yeah, biscuit sogginess, I won't say it's great. If we think about authenticity, the blend of the wine and the cream was much better in this one. I'm a big fan of that. The cocoa, I think, letting it down a little bit. The actual texture, much better, closer to what I would expect. And overall, this one's okay. The biscuits, again, are what letting all of these down, so they have that in common. when we think about the whole package, I think when you have a tiramisu, you don't want any one element to kind of overpower you, you know. So for example, in this Tesco one, it was just really the bitterness of the wine. In this Asda one, it was just the improved texture. And the Sainsbury's one again. But really, in a proper tiramisu, I don't think any one texture should be noticeable. It shouldn't be like you take it and you go, oh, this is so creamy. You should have the cream in the balance with the biscuit, in the balance with the marsala, and the balance with the cocoa. So overall, you know, I'll come up with a score for this one, but definitely a clear winner so far. Moving on now to the higher end. So this is a Waitrose and Partners tiramisu, slightly higher price points. In the packet, again, nice big portion. They've done even more of these peaks. I think, again, that's just a packaging and preference thing. So, yeah, here's what it looks like. The layers, you know, there's smaller but more frequent cream visible here. And again, there's just a big brown lump at the bottom. There's not really anything you can do to really evade that, I think, except to make it fresh. And I think just break it up with some more layers. Okay, so, we need to make space. We've got so much tiramisu going on. Oh, that is a not nice aftertaste. That is nasty. Oh, no, that is nasty. I can't eat that. Ugh. Okay, so overall flavour, I'm going to give this one a 2. Which is a shame because the creaminess is incredible. It is like you're swallowing a cloud. This is fantastic. You put it in your mouth, it just rolls over. You can feel everything. The cocoa rolls over the tongue. Unfortunately, by the time the wine just hits your mouth, it's over. You know, the whole experience is ruined. I actually think if you got rid of the biscuit for this and just take the cream, it'll be fine. Except the whole point of a tiramisu is to have these sponge fingers, you know, Savoiardi biscuits. You can buy those on Amazon. Yeah, that is nasty. That's clearly just bottom of the barrel, been soaking up everything. I was very disappointed with this one. But the cream is so good. Very inconsistent. I think the Sainsbury's one was even better. Okay, overall flavour, yeah, this one definitely did not do well. Creaminess, again, I'm disappointed because the creaminess is a 5. You know, I was so looking forward to this one being good. I put it in my mouth, I was just thinking, this is lovely. And then you just get that really unpleasant sour hit at the end. The cocoa's fine. Again, it's nice, even. This one is, again, a little bit more loose. I can't say I'm particularly noticing the cocoa flavour in any of these. I'm mostly just getting the hit of the cream. Maybe a little hint of cocoa bitter at the end. Okay, the biscuit sogginess is exactly the same as all the others. They're all terrible. And again, it's just either soaked too long or just too much. Authenticity, I mean, yeah, I guess it's a tiramisu. The cream is nice. The layers have not been done properly. You know, the cocoa, again, is very uniform and even because it's been done by a machine. I'm not particularly happy with this one, so let's leave it there. Okay, last and certainly not least are Marks and Spencer's tiramisu. Now, visually, again, so the cocoa, a slightly different decoration. I mean, that's been a pretty constant. I'd say the layers of the cream look most similar to the Sainsbury's one, which was my favourite. Okay, the biscuit looks a little bit better in this one. It just looks, it's still soaking wet, but it doesn't look completely drenched. Okay, that's definitely got cocoa in it. I must say, the thing that's varying the most in all of these is the marsala wine. So again, okay, definitely better on this one. The added cream cheese content in this one of the mascarpone cheese, remember this was 10%, the others are 7, definitely makes it thicker, but I wouldn't say that's better. I still think the Sainsbury's one had the absolute most creamy cream. Overall flavour, it's so hard to disengage the flavour from the texture. I'm going to give this one a 4 for flavour, okay? The flavour's good. The actual flavour of the cheese is tasty. The cocoa, I can actually taste it. It's nice, slightly bitter, dark cocoa. I really like that. The flavour of the wine is not good, but it's better than these other ones. I say it folds in a little bit more naturally than these other ones. Probably the best, no, not probably. It's the best one. I don't know, actually. Tell you what. I think it's just slightly different. I'd say the tiramisu from Sainsbury's and this one from Marks and Spencer's is tied for the flavour of the wine. Okay. Overall flavour, let's give this one a 4. Okay. Creaminess, I'm not going to rate this one as highly. I'm going to rate it 4. I can't remember what I rated the Sainsbury's one, but if I gave the Sainsbury's one 5, this one deserves 4. The cocoa, this one is the clear winner. Okay. Not just in coughing reaction, but you can also see, well, in fact, maybe you can see as I'm kind of moving the spoon around, cocoa flakes are actually just falling off and moving around. These other ones, it's been in the packet for so long, it's just all kind of stuck and just, you know, sticking to it because it's just melded into this goop, which is nice. And that's why it does tickle your throat. Those little pieces go down. This one's a clear winner on the cocoa. The biscuit sogginess, I'd say this one has, I'm just trying to peel back the layers on these other ones. This one has the largest, I think, amount of dry biscuit at the bottom. I think there's a little bit of a wet biscuit layer and then a slightly drier biscuit layer, which is nice. It's still not as firm as I would like, but out of all of them, it is the winner. So I'll give that one. Authenticity, I think this one's pretty good. You know, would I serve this to my family? No. But it's okay. You know, it's really, really okay. If someone gave this to me, I wouldn't be completely disappointed. But if you enjoyed this, please drop me a like right now. I guess there's nothing really else to do now except dig in. So I'm going to pick this one, which is my favourite. Cheers.